Project 2025 will strip away your rights as a worker, and they're not even hiding it. Welcome to the show. I'm John DeBona, and I'm glad you're here. This is where we cut through the noise and break down the issues happening in our country. Before we dive in, head over to turnleftpack.org. Subscribe to our emails and check out our Resist Project 2025 Reel series. What we're talking about today is a plan that's as dangerous as it is wrong. And here to help us break it down, I'm joined by Kimber Watson, someone who's worked in the service industry and knows firsthand what it's like to live off tips. Kimber, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Hey, well, we're talking about this Donald Trump's proposed no tax on tips anymore. And you had mentioned that you did work in the service industry and that you've had to actually live off of tips. Um, Tell us a little bit about that job. What was it like? What did you do? How long ago? And just give
Oh,
us the whole lowdown.
I used to work in the back of my mom's restaurant when I was a kid. And when I became 18, I started working for Bob's Big Boy, which used to be a really big company. And I started working out doing what they had like little quickies. They were like fast food Bob's Big Boys. And then I got transferred into the restaurants. And when I got transferred into the restaurants, my whole world changed because I thought, oh, I could do this really easy. But trying to balance plates, you know, that's not an easy thing to do. You have to be pretty coordinated to be able to balance plates, carry glasses at the same time. When I worked here in Colorado, I used to work for this one company, and we had to do tray service. So we had to put everything on a tray, and we had to be able to lift these huge trays with everything on it. And I used to think, oh my gosh, this is just insane. At the time, I was like 90 pounds trying to lift this tray that was probably weighed more than I did, you know. But the thing is that trying to take care of customers is not an easy job. You always have to have a pleasant smile, even if you're having a bad day. You have to be willing to listen to what they're asking you. And it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of brain activity. It's a lot of physical activity. I was making $2 and a penny an hour by the company that I was working for. My tips made up the rest of my salary.
Oh my
So
goodness.
if at the time, I think the minimum wage was like $7.25. So $2 out of seven, everybody else in America was making $7.25, and I was making 201 plus whatever I had in tips. The thing is if you have a really bad day, customers aren't there. Like if they're like Colorado's perfect. If the Broncos are playing, there's nobody there. Well, here's one of the things that I keep thinking. It's like, he talks about this is my plan, this no tax on tips, right? Now, is it a plan or is it just a concept of a plan that he
Exactly.
wants to put forth, because so far he really hasn't. He keeps saying he's going to do all these things for us, the people, right? But yet so far he hasn't done anything for us, the people. What he has done is he gave tax cuts to the top 1% in this country who didn't need the tax cuts. And who's paying for those tax cuts? You and I and the other people that live in America that make less than $100,000.
That's spot on. Workers in restaurants, service industry, um, need better wages,
Mm.
not empty promises about tax breaks that won't really make a significant difference to the workers. But you said it will make a huge difference to the corporations and to the CEOs who are getting bonuses. You think about that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Trump's promise isn't just misleading. Project 2025 is going after the protections that workers need to survive. And after the break, we'll talk about what people think about Trump's promise isn't just misleading. Project 2025 is going after the protections workers need to survive. After the break, we'll talk more about this.
When I ran for Congress, we flipped more Trump voters blue than any other congressional race in the country. We did this by calling out the GOP's lies and speaking truth against their $1 million attack ads. I've now partnered with Turn Left, and we're taking the fight to the extremists like Marge the Trainwreck Green, Ted Cruz, and Josh Hawley, to name a few. And I'm asking each and every one of you all to donate $25 today to the group that is absolutely helping to send these jackaloons packing. It's time to speak truth to power and turn left.
Well, Kimber, we are going to be talking about worker protections next. And we did touch a lot about this in the first topic, but I want to hammer this home again for the folks watching. Service work is physically and mentally draining, and dealing with entitled customers while relying on tips for income is extremely stressful. Um, so again, Kimber, what do you think people outside of the service industry don't understand about how hard it is to work long hours for tips?
Uh, I don't even know if it's really just that. I think that people, one of the things I hear about a lot from people, I hate to say that, like, I hate generalizing, but one of the things that I've heard is it's like everywhere you go, you got a tip, you got a tip, you got a tip. Now, if you're in Europe and you go to buy food in a restaurant, you pay exactly what it says on the menu. That's what you pay for your food. You don't tip. They don't give them a gratuity like they do here. Everybody gets gratuities in the United States. And the thing is that if that gratuity isn't given to a server, I don't believe that everybody in this country deserves to get tipped. However, I do believe that servers, people that are actually serving you the food, that are taking the orders, that are taking the time to make sure that every step of your food is like your food comes out hot, your drinks are full at all times, your coffee's full at all times. Those servers, they deserve better. They deserve better than what they get, because not everybody knows that how much they rely on those tips to survive. I don't really believe people really understand the food industry. You and I were talking briefly a little bit ago about how, like, you've got sandwich shops and pizza shops. Now, all they're doing is making you a pizza and making you a sandwich. Okay. Cooks in restaurants, they only get tipped if it's pulled by the waiters and waitresses, and then they tip them out at night saying, hey, thanks for making sure my food was hot and ready all the time. That's the way that it's always been. The waitresses at the end of the night would pull their money and say, okay, we're going to tip out this much to the busboy that cleared all my tables, this much to the cook to make sure all my food was taken care of. They get to go home. They don't have to claim those tips, but the server has to claim those tips.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the thing is that they're paying taxes on the line workers, the cooks and the chefs and the bus people. They're all like getting a minimum wage or higher, depending on what type of restaurant they're in and their years of experience. Whereas wait staff has to rely on the pittance that they get from the company and then the tips in order to be able to make it to whatever the minimum wage is. If they get a little bit over the minimum wage, that's yay for them. However, that doesn't always happen. It doesn't. And especially, like I pointed out before, since COVID, I have seen a big, huge change in the food industry. Restaurants are not as busy as they used to be. There's only certain days, and you can never figure out which ones they're going to be really busy and which ones they're not going to be really busy. But when they have a wait, you're like going, oh, wow, they have a wait. Whereas for a long time, I'm like going, I could just walk into a restaurant and sit down, and I haven't been able to do that in years.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I have a clip that I want to play that
Mm.
is at the center of the storm per se with this particular topic that we're going through today. So that's coming up right now.
I was at work last night. I'm a waitress. I was waiting on a couple, man and woman, presumably husband and wife. I bring them their drinks, and the woman says, I know who you're voting for, in like this sing-songy voice. And I look at her, because like, who have you been talking to? But also, I wasn't even really sure she was talking to me, because it was such an odd question. So I just walk away without saying anything. So I bring them their food. I come back to check on them to make sure they like everything. And the woman says, only a month left. I bet you're excited. And once again, I'm like, are you talking to me? Because there's no context here. Like, I don't know what she's talking about. So then they're paying their bill. The man pulls out his credit card to pay the bill, and then he says, hold on, I want to make sure I have cash because I want to tip you in cash. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And the woman says, only a month left until you don't have to pay taxes on tips anymore. And I'm like, okay, now I get what's going on here. So I kind of shrug it off, and I'm like, oh, well, to be honest, if Donald Trump wins, I have no confidence that he would ever influence Congress to introduce a bill to eliminate taxes on tips. And she says, oh, don't worry about that. He's going to get rid of all them anyway. And I'm like, the United States House of Representatives? So then she's like, oh yeah, he's going to get rid of all of them. He's going to restructure the entire government. And they haven't actually tipped me yet. So I'm just like, okay. So then she starts to look annoyed with me, and she says, you act like you want to pay taxes. And I'm like, I don't mind paying taxes as long as they're equitable and fairly proportionate to my income, and, I actually get something out of them. And I find it really odd to think that I would be coming into work, walking past the kitchen, walking past the chefs, the dishwashers, and they pay taxes and I don't. Like, how do you justify that? And then she says, don't question it. Do not question him. And I just stare at her because I'm like, what did you just say? And then she says, I think he has a plan. Just trust it. And then she gets up and they start to leave. Is this a cult?
What do you think?
Oh, wow. She actually nailed it on the head, John. I mean, seriously, if you think about it, what about the servers and the cook? I mean, the cooks and the other staff that's there that they're gonna get their taxes taken out of their paycheck, but then the servers, that's just ridiculous.
It's
And
a really good
then
point.
when the lady said that he has a plan, come on, John. We all know what Project 2025 is. That he's had this plan. He's had it all along. And I think this is the only plan that he doesn't have a concept of.
Oh my goodness. And talking about concept, but he sure loves to pose for cameras.
Yes.
Let's talk about him posing at McDonald's, pretending that he understands work. Um, so do you think that he could even last 20 minutes in a real shift like you had to endure?
No, absolutely not. The man, okay, think about this. Every time Donald Trump stands up on a stage, and unfortunately, I don't know why I watch this crap. I think it's probably because I get a kick out of how stupid he is. But he could be talking about one thing, say, the border, and then all of a sudden he goes off on a tangent about what was that the other day? Arnold Palmer. It's like he goes off
Oh
on
my
these
God.
tangents. If he can't stay
Arnold Palmer's
on,
9 iron, huh?
yeah, but I mean, if the man can't stay on message when he's reading from a teleprompter that he says he never uses, right?
Exactly.
Then how could he stay on? I just can't see it. I'm sorry, I just can't see it. I mean, the man had to use two hands to lift the frying
Yeah,
basket.
exactly. It was obviously staged. He has absolutely zero connection to real work, right?
Right. Remember back in the day, we used to use that word poser?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Donald Trump posing behind the counter of McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. He's a poser. That's all he is. He just poses. That's all he wants to do is just say, oh, I can get a shot out of this, it'll make me look good. But you know what? The bottom line is every time he does something stupid like that, the people that are in the know, the people that do their research and they actually care about saving our democracy, are sitting there going, what is this guy, a Fruit Loop or what? Because
Indeed. He's detached from
he,
reality
he
because,
is
working in service industry requires stamina and multitasking, things
right.
that he has absolutely no experience with. It was an absolute joke.
Right. Yeah. I mean, let's think about this. As a waitress, you're doing like multiple things at one time, or as a server, or whatever they want to call them these days, right? But the thing is, you're getting drinks, you're fixing a salad, you're getting drinks, you're putting your tray together, but it all has to be simultaneously so that you get it all done at a certain time, so that say like the person is having a salad before their dinner. Well, you have to make sure that everything is timed just right. And I don't think Donald Trump, I don't even think he even shows up to his rallies on time, to be honest. And if he does, he looks half sleeping most of the time. And John, I'm not trying to pick on the man,
No,
but
I
the
mean,
man
he
is
obviously looked like a French fry under a heat lamp.
yes. I don't know. I kind of, when he, it's like he shows up, he's got a suit and tie on. I'm like, dude, really? A suit, like a white shirt with to do French fries. I'm like, white and French fries or any kind of food was like didn't blend with me because I'd end up wearing most of it half the time. But I mean, the man, he wants people to think that he's normal like you and me. But the sad part is there is nothing normal about this man. There is nothing normal about anything that he says or does. The things that he says and does are because he thinks if he panders to the people and the people believe whatever he's telling us, then they'll vote for him. He's doing anything and everything he can to try to gather the votes. But here's the sad part. If Donald Trump wins this election, and we've talked about this before, Project 2025 will go into effect immediately the day that he is sworn in.
Yep.
And people need to stop and think about what the repercussions are. I've said it before. People, they think that Donald Trump's some kind of savior. Well, you know what? He's not a savior. He's I've said it the other day, and I'll just say it again. He is like the rise of Hitler all over again.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. And he while he poses for the cameras, and
uh-huh.
you just hit on this. Project 2025 is set to gut essential programs like Social Security and healthcare, things that workers depend on. And after the break, we're going to talk about how important it is having things like healthcare and Social Security when you're in a job that's physically demanding and often doesn't offer any other benefits.
Today, we have an amazing show for you. Join myself, special guests, and celebrities. What's going on, Ice-T? Andrew Yang. Somebody else was hopping on. Oh, hold on.
What's going on, Battle?
As we roast GQP Jackaloon. He may not be a real businessman, but he is one hell of a con artist. That's what it is. That's what they got indicted for. Treason and sedition. And addresses the headlines of the day.
They must be held accountable.
Live streaming every night. I got more time in a friggin' quarter in a friggin' combat zone than you probably got in the military. This is Ojeda Live.
So, Kimber, let's talk about those safety nets that Project 2025 has in its crosshairs. How important is having things like healthcare and Social Security when you're working in a job that's physically demanding and doesn't offer benefits?
Oh, I'm telling you, if we didn't have the ACA right now, I don't know what most people would do because they wouldn't have insurance. or access to some kind of insurance, because most employers don't give they don't give their employees access to healthcare in the service industry. We don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I just get really irritated because the Republican Party as a whole, they keep calling them entitlements. Well, no, they're not entitlements.
They're lifelines.
They are lifelines to every single person in this nation, especially and most importantly, the ones who have lower income jobs. They have to rely on that as they get older. Those people that don't get the 401ks or the health benefits or any of that stuff, they need these other entities to be able to survive into old age. And they're talking about dismantling it all. Even the overtime thing, that was what I was just thinking about. Overtime is another issue that we have to really think about, because if they say no more overtime, so what? We're going to get, let's just say it's like $15 an hour. So you're going to get $15 an hour no matter how many hours you work, and employers will be able to say, what? Oh, instead of working an 8-hour job, we want you to work 15 hours, but we're not paying you overtime.
Exactly.
That's BS. That is BS.
And that's exactly what they want to do.
The thing is they're always talking about the deep state. It's the radical left that's the deep state. And I'm like, every time I turn on the TV and I hear a Republican talk these days, I'm like, and the thing is I used to be a Republican, but I got so turned off by the Republican Party that now when I listen to them, I'm like going, do you guys hear what you're actually saying? Do you realize that you're lying to the people on a daily basis? Do you even care?
No. Yeah, that's a good point. Good
You
point.
It's like, well, and here's the thing, John, is like, it's really sad because we actually have people in this country who actually believe all the lies. But in reality, what they're doing is they're trying to take away every single fundamental right that we have.
That's exactly it. And when you hear about Project 2025 gutting protections for workers, what do you think that means for people like you who've worked in jobs that don't have a lot of money and security for the future?
It means that people like you and me will just get poorer and poorer. It's like they're trying to eliminate all the complete, not just the middle class. They only want two classes. They want those who serve and those who have all kinds of money. The top 1%, let's cater to the people that are rich, but let's screw over the ones that aren't. It's like
That's
the mentality is really messed up.
Yeah,
For a better word.
Project 2025, the bottom line is that it does not support working class Americans. It strips away their safety nets.
The whole premises of Project 2025 is to make things worse for the American people, not better.
Indeed. And the fear of losing health care and Social Security is already too much to deal with for folks who are already at the edge. And removing protections would make it an already hard job even more
Harder.
difficult.
Mhm.
And the bottom line is that Project 2025 doesn't support working class Americans. It strips away their safety nets. And Kimber, that's our podcast for today. Is there anything that you want to leave us with? Tell us about anything that's on your mind.
We're just a couple weeks away from the election, so I want to talk to. I guess I think what I want to say is this: many of us lost relatives during 2020 because of the way everything was mishandled by the Trump administration. These people were good people that probably would still be here today had Donald Trump not been trying to tell people to drink bleach or take whatever he was telling people. If he would have managed the whole thing correctly from the beginning, there was many lives in this country that would still be alive today. And I want to urge those people to think about what it was like when you lost that spouse or that child or that mother or father because they couldn't get access to health care. Remember that when you go to the polls. And if you haven't gone to the polls yet, think about that. And please save our democracy. Don't let that man back in the White House, because more people will die. And I don't think I can handle losing another person because of Donald Trump.
Absolutely incredible message, Kimber. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, John.
Today, we've discussed Trump's misleading promise about no taxes on tips, the grueling reality of service industry work, and how Project 2025 is aiming to gut essential worker protections like overtime pay, health care, and Social Security. But it doesn't have to happen. Head over to turnleftpac.org, subscribe to our emails, and check out our Resist Project 2025 Reel series. Remember, one person can make a difference, and together we can fight back against this agenda designed to benefit the wealthy at the expense of hard-working Americans.